Thanks for watching this. I wanted to introduce you to the concept of divorcing the state. I've been doing this work for 31 years, and I just wanted to share these concepts with you because I see that it's a trend. I see that there's problems, huge problems we have with what's called family court. So you have your state trial court systems that have branched off into family court, and they get special funding. I'm going to tell you some things that you may not be aware of. Your federal laws and your Congress have written laws to fund your state while your state is being paid to destroy your family and destroy your wealth. That's really what it's about, okay? It's destroying your wealth. So let me tell you how it's being done. Just as an example, just so you know, if I owe a debt to somebody and that person sues me, let's say the bank sues me because they didn't pay my credit card bill, the bank can pretty much establish that I had some sort of financial obligation to the bank, right? And they could win and get a judgment, and then the bank could levy my property after getting a judgment when there's been an adjudication of debt. Well, what's different about child support? What's different about alimony? Nothing. You can't establish an obligation, a financial obligation. It cannot be adjudicated unless there's an underlying debt. But why is everyone just thinking, oh, yeah, I got to pay child support? Based on what? You were already paying child support. You're already taking care of your children. You already had child support arrangements, okay? What the court's doing is interfering with them, intruding upon your private life. Now, I'll give a typical example. The wife leaves. She doesn't want to be part of the marriage. She goes to a different household. Who knows what she's doing, but she goes to a different household. Now, keep in mind, she was already getting benefits in the marriage, but yet she leaves that arrangement. Maybe she's going to forfeit some of her benefits because she can't get all the benefits since she's leaving the household, right? She's not going to enjoy the comforts and the conveniences that you provided. Now I'm speaking stereotypically, but bear with me here for a second. So then she files a divorce petition. Well, what she's doing is she's going to the court to try to get new benefits from you without negotiating those with you and without cooperating with you. And somehow she thinks using the police power of the state is necessary to get more benefits from you. And yet she's abandoned her benefits by just leaving the marriage, okay? Now, I know there's lots of other nuances and things going on in different situations, but that's generally what's happening. And the state will oblige her because the state is being paid by the United States to do these things. There's a financial incentive. It's huge. It's a multi-billion-dollar franchise of the trial court system. It's paying for everything, and you're paying for everything. So there's a matching funds agreement going on behind the scenes. It's really sinister. So let me give you an idea. So let's say there's a petition that comes in. It's a petition for the dissolution of marriage, okay? So think about what's being asked here. The title of the pleading is Petition for Dissolution of Marriage. Well, let's say it's not contested. If your wife leaves and you say, well, okay, if you don't love me anymore, you don't want to be with me, okay, I'm not going to try to make you stay. I can't do that, but go ahead. You leave. So it's really not contested, right? Well, you just want the court to declare the dissolution of the marriage, just like you and your wife declared that you were going to get married. You told your family and your friends, and maybe you put it in the newspaper and you had a wedding reception, all these things, okay? That's what makes the marriage, is the announcement, the public announcement, and the ceremony and all these things, right? So in the end, if you want to unwind it, undo it, you have to declare in the public that it's being dissolved. This is a declaration again. So the petition for dissolution of marriage is a declaration. They're asking the court to declare something to be or not to be. So they're asking the court, the petitioner is asking the court to declare the dissolution of a marriage. It's not asking the court to collect on a debt. It's not saying breach of contract. It's not alleging an existing financial obligation anywhere in the pleading. Now, there is a situation where the pleading might come in with allegations of abuse or neglect, which have to be proven through an evidentiary hearing, okay? And in the pleading, you'll find that maybe it starts off with discovery, okay? But if it starts off with discovery, many courts will have standard discovery questions ready to go. So as soon as a petition is filed, everybody gets discovery forms to fill out, disclosing all your assets and property. So you have to ask yourself, why in the pleading was there no allegation of a debt obligation or a debtor or a creditor or anything, or even an instrument of debt like a contract? And we're supposed to be involved in discovering assets as if there's already been an adjudication of debt when there hasn't even been an allegation of debt. And the petition was only asking for declaratory relief. It wasn't asking to collect debt or reduce a claim into a judgment to go collect later. So what are we doing with post-judgment discovery is what they call it. So if I don't pay a bank on a credit card agreement, right, and the bank wins, the bank is able to then do what's called post-judgment discovery after it wins. Why is this being done from day one when a petition for the dissolution of marriage is filed, seeking only declaratory relief, seeking only equitable relief? It's not seeking money. It's not looking for money damages. There's no damages. It just wants the declaration of a marriage, that a marriage is dissolved. And that's where the court should shut up after that. The court should say, hey, you guys okay? You both want the divorce. There's nothing weird going on. Okay. No allegations of abuse, neglect, imminent harm. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, sorry, you guys are getting divorced, but yeah, here you go. Rubber stamp and then shut up. That's what should be happening, but it's not because you're being liquidated. You're being pulled through what's known as an involuntary receivership. Okay. So you're pulled into divorce court, family court, and you're being pulled into a receivership as if you filed bankruptcy, but even worse, it's as if your creditors filed an involuntary bankruptcy against you, against your will, and just taken all your stuff through a receiver, someone who steps in your place and sells all your property without you having a say in it. That's what's going on in family court. Ha. So let me just give you a little insight here, and I really want you to get in, subscribe to this video series. I'm going to give you some intro. I just want to give you a bird's eye view right here. But think about this other aspect to a pleading. So let's say in the end, right, you make it through the end, okay? You spend all kinds of money, you waste all kinds of money through a stupid attorney who had you participate. And by the way, the lawyers are part of the problem, okay? Because they're not practicing law, they're practicing attornment. Attornment, by definition, is the taking of property and giving to another in a system of fealty. We can get to that later. But think about this. Let's say the judge orders you to sell your house and divide the proceeds, right? You've heard this before. You've seen the movies and you think, okay, if you've seen the movies, you're programmed because you think that's the way it's supposed to happen. But remember, there's no underlying debt obligation. And in many situations, selling your house and creating two households from that or something, or getting a new household creates somewhat of a financial hardship for many of you. The court is supposed to preserve the status quo. Now, think about this, just to give you, this is going to get you angry. I want you to be angry. I want you to be angry. I want you to be effective. I'm going to show you what to do. So the judge says, sell your house within 90 days, list it for sale, and then divide the proceeds with your former wife. Now, what does selling your house involve? A listing agreement. Let's just say you go through a real estate agent, right? Or it involves you to go deal with people to go and advertise your house for sale. So that requires agreements. You would have to get a listing agreement or place an ad or something. You'd have to enter into an agreement so that your house could be advertised for sale. You understand? So the judge is telling you to sell your house, but he's not telling you how. But in order to sell your house, you got to advertise it, and that requires you to get into other agreements. Since when can a judge order you to enter into an agreement? Think about it. Now, that's just the listing agreement. What about the sale? What if someone comes in and makes an offer to buy the house, right? You have to get into a sales contract with them. Again, that's another contract. Then you've got other things going on. You've got title insurance. You've got all kinds of contracts you got to get into. So how can the judge require you to enter into a contract? Moreover, how can the judge, and you know this, if you look at the rules, the judge has the power, and I'm going to say it's being abused, but I'm just saying he has the power to impose civil penalties if you refuse to comply. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get out of this though, but he can humiliate you publicly. We'll get into the details on that one, but he can also sentence you to serve time in jail for refusing to comply with his orders. Okay, it's called contempt. So knowing that, how could you ever voluntarily, with consent to entering into any of these agreements if you know that if you don't do it, you could go to jail? You can't ever have a valid agreement in that situation, right? Okay, think about this. So let's go a step further. Let's say that you didn't do it, right? And so the judge calls you in for a hearing and says, why didn't you do what I told you to? And so the question would be, well, I don't think you have the right to tell me to sell my house because you don't have the right to require me to enter into contracts. You might have the ability to hold me in contempt, but you don't have the authority to sell my house. Now, Judge, if you had the authority, why don't you just sell my house? Why do I need to do it? Or do you need me to give you permission? Or do you need me to participate in the sale of my house because you don't have the authority to sell my house? And he'll give you some intimidating statement, right? And then you ask him this question. Well, if you do have the authority to sell my house, do you have the authority to require that someone buy it? We all know the answer to that question. And let's go on. Do you also, or would you otherwise have the authority to require someone to lend me money against my house so I can split the equity with my former wife, or for whatever reason? Do you have the authority to require a lender to lend me money against my house? Even if I have bad credit, let's say. What if I have perfect credit? Do you have the authority to make someone lend me money? No, you don't. So I didn't go to law school, but I can tell you this, I'm smart, I can read at least, and it seems to me that you don't have the authority to make me sell my house. And by the way, I like my house, and selling it would create a financial hardship, and you're not liable to any member of my family anyway, so you can't choose how I allocate my resources, and I'm not going to sell my house because of whatever choice basis for my choice is none of your damn business, right? Ooh, that's scary, isn't it? I'll tell you exactly what to do and how to get away with it, and I'll tell you how to make the judge liable if he doesn't follow the law. And as you can imagine, I'll show you for sure, very clearly, why the judge does not have the authority to do any of these things and why you have all your rights. And even if you think you've waived your rights, I'll show you how to undo it. Thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe, and I'd love to show you more. I'm sorry if you're in that situation, but I can show you how to get out of it.